uh, Thursday, March 5th, 2009. Thanks for stopping by. Someone told me today, after watching my video about our boycott of the International Conference Against Racism, that the International Conference Against Racism is racist, and that it is just headed by a bunch of third world dictators who want to rant and have somebody listen to them rant. So, honestly, I don't know that much about it, so I looked it up on Wikipedia, and what I found was pretty illuminating and also kind of amusing for a lot of different reasons. Let me just share a little bit of this with you. Now, there were conferences in 1978. They don't really have anything about it, very much about it, but they do say that the conference in 1978 was mostly focused on South Africa's apartheid policies. The 83 conference, they don't really talk about. The 2001 conference, there is a lot. And what they're basically saying, okay, they say a disproportionate amount of time was focused specifically on Israeli treatment of Palestinians, while flagrant violations of human rights and genocide in other parts of the world were ignored. The conference culminated in a call by a majority of countries to reestablish the UNGA 3379 resolution from 1975, equating Zionism with racism. And this was a UN resolution in 1975 equating Zionism with racism. I'm not making this up. The 2001 meeting was dominated by clashes over the Middle East and the legacy of slavery. And this is where it gets really funny. It says, and particularly marred by attacks on Israel and anti-Israel demonstrations at a parallel conference of non-governmental organizations. The U.S. and Israel walked out midway through the 2001 conference over a draft resolution that singled out Israel for criticism and likened Zionism, the movement to establish and maintain a Jewish state, to racism. The European Union also refused to accept demands by Arab states to criticize Israel for racist practices. And then the 2009 conference, it says Israel, Canada, Italy, and the United States have announced they will not participate in the conference on the basis of differences of views regarding outcome documents of the conference. Now, notice that it does not say that the World Conference Against Racism is headed by dictators and human rights abusers. It is actually headed by UNESCO, an organization which was founded after World War II because of the Holocaust. Okay. It was founded because of the Holocaust to promote racial equality and to fight against racism and xenophobia and intolerance. Now, it's funny the contrast between what they have to say about the 1978 conference, which is almost nothing, and the 2001 conference. But these two conferences seem very similar to me. The 1978 World Conference singled out South Africa because of apartheid and spent most of the time talking about South Africa. Now, notice that they didn't criticize this. They didn't say that the 78 World Conference picked on South Africa and spent a disproportionate amount of time talking about apartheid when there's so many other things going on in the world. No. They're not brazen enough to try to say that speaking out against apartheid is wrong, even if there are other things in the world which, and there always are plenty of other things in the world that we should talk about and they could have talked about, but they spent most of their time talking about apartheid, and the people who wrote this article seem perfectly okay with that. But when it comes to Israel, that's another matter. Why pick on Israel for doing the exact same thing that South Africa did, only worse. That is suddenly wrong. That's suddenly unacceptable. Now, notice that they don't say anywhere in this article that this is disputed. No one in the article disputes the racist policies of Israel, or says that this is a false idea. No one in the conference disputed the fact that Israel was practicing apartheid policies and racist policies against Palestinians. I mean, it wouldn't really be credible. It wouldn't make sense. They would have gotten laughed out of the room. But in this article, they try to actually throw the blame in the other direction by saying, well, there's so many other things that you could be talking about. Why pick on Israel? You know, but again, they don't say Israel is innocent because they cannot make that claim. So, you know, when people give you these arguments, it's perfectly reasonable to want to speak about other things, but what you have to remember is they're not actually defending what Israel is doing. They're not actually proving that Israel is innocent. They're not arguing that Israel is innocent. They're not arguing that what Israel is doing to Arabs is not racist. They're just pointing the finger and saying, you know, you're a bad person for talking about this and not talking about other things, which is pretty weak. It's really just to misdirect you, to confuse you, and to make you forget the real issue and to think about something else. It's all it is. So when when you're reading these kind of articles, when you're talking to people about these issues, just don't forget the real issue and don't let them try to shut you up or to tell you can't speak about this, you need to be speaking about something else. Well, no. You know, there was a reason why people talked about South Africa and not other human rights abuses, because South Africa was the most visible human rights abuse of the time. And, you know, that position is now occupied by Israel. So Israel is the next racist state to fall, that will fall, that must fall. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It's what's going to happen sooner or later, hopefully not violently or destructively, but it must fall. It must change. And you know, there's nothing wrong with speaking out against injustice. Okay, even if you don't have time to speak out against everything else in the world, there was nothing wrong with UNESCO finding fault with Israel for exploiting Palestinians and demolishing their homes and slaughtering them, men, women, and children, abusing their human rights in every imaginable way. There was nothing wrong with UNESCO speaking out against that. I mean, I'm sure they should have spoke out against other things too, but you know, you could say the same thing about the 1978 meeting when they were spending all their time talking about South Africa. There were also plenty of things back then they could have spoken out against, but South Africa took priority for them, and I think, looking back, I think we can understand why that was. I think we can forgive them for picking on South Africa, and one day people will realize that it's okay for them to pick on Israel as well, because, you know, when someone does wrong, you point it out. Doesn't matter who they are. Thanks for watching.